Hey everybody, welcome to the Elseworlds Exchange. Oh man, today I smell a crossover episode, everybody. Oh, here it is.
Where's it?
It's right here, baby. It's DJ Wooldridge, everybody, from Only Stupid Answers, and of course,
What?
from our shows, Mutant Academy and Spider-Versity. If you go to patreon.com/onlystupidanswers, you yourself can check out that show and Mutant Academy over on Only Stupid Answers YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
Great show.
Great shows both. So lucky, so thankful to be here today, as always.
Happy to have you.
And so grateful to have you do those shows with me. I can't imagine doing those shows with anybody else. And we are like in it, gang. For those that don't know, Mutant Academy, we're now on X-Men, the animated series. Those episodes should be dropping soon. And in Spider-Versity, we are in Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, yeah. which is a dicey proposition in these early episodes.
Yeah, and I will say, I gotta, as a preface to that, you know, when I was growing up at a time, I don't know what you call it, maybe like just a comic book desert, you know, like, or adaptation oasis. We were missing a lot of different good adaptations. The only adaptations we were getting were from these, like, you know how Hollywood is characterized as like an old crusty dude with a cigar, and he's like, you know what they should do? An idea from 45 to 65 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing it back then too, so they were like, I'm thinking if that Batman does well, how about the Shadow?
Yeah.
That's even better than Batman.
The Phantom.
Does anybody remember the Phantom?
Dude, I just saw the Phantom is on Max. And you better believe I'm going to watch it. I have so much nostalgia for that movie. I cannot attest to its quality. I just remember as a kid, like, because I actually, I actually really like the pulp heroes.
They're fun. I appreciate them.
Right, but you are right in that it is insane that the instinct post Batman 1989 was the Shadow and the Phantom, and it's like, he's a superhero. The one group of people that got it right were the ones that like fast tracked the Ninja Turtles movie. It's like, yeah, you understand what's happening.
the Ninja Turtles movie was just one of those things that was kismet, baby. I am so, and everything about that movie should not have happened. You know, they like the fact they got a TV director who made stuff like, I think, Small Wonder, and then they were like, here, make this groundbreaking martial arts meets Jim Henson Creature Shop, like brand new technology, like fuse all that together and make it look seamless and make it also one of the greatest comic book movie adaptations of ever.
And one of the things they don't understand, one of the other things that they weren't understanding at the time. So you look at the success of Batman 89, you're like, okay, so it took this comic and made it darker and serious for the time. Obviously, post the Batman and post Dark Knight, you go back and watch Tim Burton's Batman, you're like, oh, this is
kind of hokey. You're like, oh,
this is nice, this is fun.
Yeah.
And Ninja Turtles, and it's dark and it's edgy. And so then the response is like, okay, Mario Brothers, we're adapting this thing that we understand is for kids.
Right.
And we look at Batman and we look at Ninja Turtles, which we understand is for kids. And so we make it dark, and it's like, well, no, because the source material, Batman wasn't always the 66 show. Ninja Turtles wasn't always the 80s cartoon. That's actually there's some ammunition for that. You could actually argue a darker, grittier version of the Turtles or Batman. There's no dark and gritty. Dark and gritty Mario is the movie. It is the Mario movie. I'm an apologist for that movie, because when that movie came out, I wasn't watching Blade Runner. I wasn't watching like Max Headroom. I wasn't watching those things. So that was like the seed for that type of cyberpunk dystopic whatever. And as a gateway for a kid into type of storytelling, I have a lot of nostalgia for that movie. To the degree, there was I think it's called Umbrella. There was a Australian outlet that releases like different like Blu-rays and stuff like that. And they released a remastered Super Mario Brothers movie, and I was like, I've got to get this, because when the new one came, the Universal one came out, I wanted to rewatch it, and you can't even rent it. It's not. They've buried that movie. I had to buy an old DVD that was still in the like
the snap
format. Yeah. And so the second they're like, hey, limited edition remastered 4K, I'm like, well, I'm buying that.
There's so many movies where now I'm just like so thankful that I am an obsessive physical media nerd. And I didn't think I was. I just liked movies. And I was like, well, if I want to watch my favorite movies, I have to have them.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that media is in the wrong direction. And as a result, now I'm like a curator.
Yeah.
Like I have all these lost masterpieces.
Aren't we supposed to be getting, I feel like of my friends, you would be the one that would know. Aren't we supposed to be getting like a Dogma? Isn't Dogma supposed to be
The
being
rumor
released?
is, and the rumor is that that Kevin Smith bought the rights back from the Weinsteins, which is a shame, but also I understand the devil with the deal with the devil you got to make. But in this case, I'd heard it. A lot of the news about it is stemming from like an April Fool's article.
Oh no!
But I've heard, and Kevin is very quick to do this, that he spilled the beans during one of his live events at his local movie theater in Central Jersey.
Yeah.
So I believe that because he's often one to share or overshare what he's up to or what plans he's got. But I heard that yes, that he bought the rights to Dogma back, and we're going to get like a full suite of everything, which makes sense, and I think it's smart.
Yeah,
I think
it's one of those, that was another movie like I wanted to revisit, and it's like good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck finding it.
I mean, I have Dogma on DVD, but I was like, I have it on DVD. Like back in the day when I was like only very softly making the transition from DVD to Blu-ray. Like I didn't really see the difference. And then one day I threw one on. And I'm like, oh yeah, there's a difference.
Yeah.
So, I didn't make the transition because I was like, it's a Kevin Smith movie, not to disparage those movies, but like, I don't need a 4K restoration.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't need the high fidelity.
Right. But I'll take it.
Yeah.
But I'll take it. I'd like to see, the fibers on Jay Snugin's hat and how rubber the Golgotha looks like.
Could you imagine if Kevin Smith was one of those directors like, if this is going to be, what is it, 70 millimeter IMAX with a film reel that's 7 feet tall for Dogma 2, and it's like, all right.
Oh my God. Yeah, if he was like, I'm gonna treat Dogma 2 like the Hateful Eight. We're gonna shoot a glorious CinemaScope. We're gonna have like huge film. No.
You know what's funny? Nobody would finance it, but I bet you that would work. I bet you people would show up for that.
I'd show up. I mean, I'm not really here for the Kevin Smith sequels anymore. Not that I don't love Kev. I think he's, an inspiration for me in a big bad way, but he I don't need I saw Jay and Bob too.
Yeah, what was the last Kevin Smith joint I watched?
Was it Clerks 3?
I've only seen Clerks 1.
I love Clerks 2.
Yeah.
It's very different. It's not. I mean, it ain't a classic View Askew universe movie. It's not like anything compared to Chasing Amy or anything,
Yeah.
Where they're like coming up with ideas for how to shoot like a artsy sequence, and they only have like a couple $100,000 to play with. But I think it's the best of modern Kevin.
Yeah.
There's an earnestness there, and that's a thing, right? Like, because when it comes to Kevin Smith movies, there's a formula. If first of all, folks at home, if you become a Kevin Smith fan, it means that you are a fan of Kevin Smith the person, and so like who Brian Johnson is, and you've like been to his store. Like there's all these levels to it
on the lore. Yeah.
And one of the things that I've learned about like my love for Kevin Smith movies, or the formulas that work best, is he needs a few things. He needs to have something really personal that he wants to say, which of course is the freaking point or theme of Chasing Amy, but also it has to be referring to or based on something that literally happened to him. Okay. Like a lot of his best stories are based off of his personal experiences. And when he just like invents from whole cloth, not that you can tell, but like you feel like there's a separation between the whole cloth, like Tusk or Red State, and something like a Chasing Amy or a Clerks, or even a Dogma. The difference is, I think Red State's really, really solid, and it comes from a place of like true emotion. Like there's some anger. He's pissed making that movie.
I've been meaning to watch Red State because I actually heard good things about that.
I think you would dig it the most.
I actually really liked, for the most part, I really liked Tusk, except when you've got a shock Johnny Depp drop in, and you're watching that in like 2022, and Johnny Depp just shows up in the whole movie. Even if whatever you feel about that, the whole movie just stops what it's doing. Accommodate his presence. It's like this isn't working.
Honestly, that is very. I would assume if all I'd seen was Tusk, that is because of the accommodation for Johnny Depp.
Yeah,
that is a stylistic hallmark of modern Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
Is that like you have a movie, it is going at a pace, and maybe you're on board or maybe you're not.
Yeah.
But around the 2/3 mark, it is going to hit the brakes.
Yeah.
And we're going to look at that now. And it seemingly has nothing to do with what we've been doing.
Yeah.
And it probably never really will thematically, but
Yeah.
it's going to be where we are now. Like, we're just going to make another movie around the 2/3 mark and go from there. Like, that is Yoga Hosers. You know, that is Jay and Bob 2. That's Clerks 3. Like, every movie that he has made since, like, around, I want to say Tusk, has been, this is the movie you're watching. And then right around like the 45-minute mark, here's another movie.
God bless him, man. Like I appreciate somebody that can just seemingly do whatever he wants.
Whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I can't, it's like, you know, the story about, it's a line I'm going to quote, but it's from a anecdote that Jim Carrey shares about when he first met Tommy Lee Jones, when they were planning on being in Batman Forever together. And
I love
Tommy Lee Jones.
I love this.
Tommy Lee Jones hates Jim Carrey, and like,
of course he does.
You know, Jim Carrey went up to him and was like, "Hi," and Tommy Lee Jones was like, "I hate you, like I hate you." And you know, when and this is all from Jim Carrey. He's told the story myriad times, but like, my favorite line, and it's the line that makes it 100% believable.
Yeah.
Is that when Jim Carrey pressed him, like, why? Tommy Lee Jones reportedly said, "I cannot sanction your buffoonery." And I'm like, that is the most Tommy Lee Jones thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I cannot sanction your buffoonery. That is something that, like,
you could hear him saying that in No Country for Old Men or something.
No, you know, No Country for Old Men, The Fugitive.
I
cannot sanction your buffoonery. That is 100% a Tommy Lee Jones line. And it's like, yep.
It's
he said that to you.
Tommy Lee Jones has been a cranky old man the entirety of my life.
He's always been that way. I'm so glad that there's a line in, I think, Men in Black, where he reveals his years and he's like, "Got some city miles on you."
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, right?
Yeah.
Like, you've been 60 for 50 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't sanction your buffoonery. I don't know if I can sanction Kevin Smith's buffoonery at this point, but I respect it, and I love so much of it. Like, I grew up, this has become a Kevin Smith show, and I'm sorry, I don't want to necessarily dedicate it to that whole thing, especially when we have so much to promote, particularly Hellbent comicbook.com. But
go check it out.
Yeah, but which we'll talk about it more in depth in a second. But yeah, at every phase, when I don't know about you, and I'd love to hear how you came to Kevin Smith moment, because every amateur filmmaker, everybody who wants to get into movies, has a really strong, I think, opinion about Kevin Smith. Like, right? Like, either you're from like the Red Letter Media angle of like, yeah, I have a really strong opinion about Kevin Smith, or you're like, Kevin Smith is like my fun uncle. I love him, you know? But it's one or the other. It's either like he is the friggin' worst and he's ruining everything, or like I will help him up if ever he struggles.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things that I think, especially for guys of our generation, and film nerds of our generation specifically, we've talked about this before. Like, if you're making a short film in college, if you're Sal and my age, and you go back to our college era, and you're making a short film or whatever, you're either going to rip off Kevin Smith, you're going to rip off Quentin Tarantino, or you're going to rip off Wes Anderson. Those are the three guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sometimes you'll do all three.
Sometimes you might try that. All three would be something. All three would definitely be something. Combinations of two of them, like a Smith Tarantino, is like, okay, I could see how you could fall into that trap.
I made the Smith Tarantino movie. Dude, it is dog shit.
Yeah, I went the Tarantino route. I don't blame you.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that you look back at some of that and you're like, well, wouldn't do that now.
No, there's so much. Now here's my question to you, because like there's, there is a part of you that understands that what you made creatively when you first had the spark to be creative is just utter garbage.
Bad.
But is there a part in your heart that goes, but if I had my energy then and all the technology and know-how that I have today, I could make that really cool.
Dude, 100%. I don't let any idea die. Like, no idea dies. Like, that short I made, one of the shorts I made in college, I've revisited a couple times of like, how could I do it better? How could I recycle stuff all the time.
Totally.
And especially anything that hasn't been published, obviously, like published or put out there or whatever. It's like it's free to like repackage and retool and re-advise.
Yeah, if no one's seen it, then it's new.
Well, when we get to Hellbent, my co-writer and I, Jana, some of the concepts for that came from stuff we batted around in high school when we were friends in high school, and it's very different then. But you know, it's you just try and recycle the stuff that's good. But yeah,
Well, there was no room for it at the time. But let's there's always room for a good idea. It's just a question of where you can fit it.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those, and it's especially when we were coming up. Like, obviously, it's so easy. And in our defense, a couple things in our defense. One, Quentin Tarantino's first movie, unfortunately, got burned up in a total freak accident fire. So weird that none of it exists anymore. That's crazy. The one he
hard to believe
before Reservoir Dogs. Oh, crazy! Interesting how that just doesn't exist. Which I could do that in the era of YouTube. Anyway,
wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't that be nice? But that you could just get rid of it. And also, like, they were pulling from, like, I remember, doesn't Swingers have a joke about Quentin Tarantino ripping off Martin Scorsese?
Oh yeah, they steal in, I think in Swingers they steal the Goodfellas tracking shot.
Yeah,
when they bring when they bring Karen through the restaurant.
Yeah. And so it's one of those, like, everybody's pulling from whatever. But yeah, I do look back at that, and it's funny now to think about how you're absolutely right to point that out, how I am much smarter now and better creatively now, but I'm also so much more tired.
Right.
I'm just so tired. Just so tired.
I can't, right? Like, unrelated, but still kind of tangentially related. We're talking a couple of days ago about, like, accommodations for Comic-Con. When this comes out, I will be neck deep in San Diego.
Yeah.
And I'm so regretful that we won't be able to share, the floor and also a meal together during that time. But greater responsibilities.
Yes.
And so, but when this episode comes out, we'll be in it. But I was dealing with lodgings and accommodations, and there was a period where my wife Tiffany wasn't going to join me, and I was talking to people about it, like some veterans, some classic veterans who went to San Diego, like, in the 90s, when I would have wanted to go, but had no business going. There's no, my parents were going to, like, buy me a ticket, allow me to fly on a plane alone, or let me go to a foreign city, for extended days, with endless amounts of money. Like, there's no friggin' way any of that was going to happen. But as I understand it, like, there was a time at San Diego where when there weren't panels in certain rooms, they would just show movies all night.
Wild.
Like, you just go to it would be almost like a film festival where just movies from comics and from pop culture to be playing. So, like, some people would just pick a spot.
Yeah.
That was their hotel room. They just sleep in the screening room. Like, they just sleep in Hall
crazy.
H. And and just like those options are kind of almost still there. Like, one of my buddies, Comics Explained, Rob, like, did the overnight wait in line for Hall H, which he deeply regrets.
Yeah.
I understand why, but I'm like, that does save you one day.
Yes.
When it comes to hotel costs.
When it comes to hotel costs, and I don't know how many people. I feel like this is relatively common knowledge for the crowd that would be watching this show,
right?
But, like, getting a ticket to Comic-Con's one thing. Yeah. Accommodations is the big, like, people flip out on social media when it comes time to, like, get the hotel room and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
It's really tough. It's tough.
Yeah. It's tough to the point where, like, I think that the city of San Diego is actually in, like, litigation with the Comic-Con organizers this year over the price gouging. It's just because they're always threatening to pull out and move Comic-Con. Comic-Con has distanced themselves from the name, from calling it San Diego Comic-Con, despite the fact that every social media tag is SDCC.
Yes.
But they've been like, we can go to Anaheim. We could go to La Jolla. We could go other places. There's other gorgeous areas that have perfect weather. Kind of.
So when was the transition to what we know Comic-Con as today? Is it around MCU time? When does it
Interesting. You know,
become the big, like, because when you're talking about the 90s, man, that's like
yeah.
Wild West days. That's like you could put any comic creator you love, you could just probably go up and say hi to. Like, not a
Absolutely.
big
Oh,
deal. Yeah.
dude, I remember going to New York Comic Con for the first year in 2006, and that was past the point, and
Yeah.
it was still super easy to talk to
Yes.
anyone, and there were no lines for anybody. Like, I have some photos that would never exist even 2 years after that. Like, I got a picture with Gary Coleman for
Yeah.
no reason because he was
Yeah.
there,
Yep.
I got to shake the hand of Peter Mayhew because he was there.
Yeah.
Just no, I didn't pay a dime.
Yeah.
Which did piss off Coleman, I got to tell you.
He was not
he was
happy.
annoyed because he was like, "Yeah, we'll do a picture," and I did it, and then I left, and he was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, I have to pay? Well, I'm already 10 paces away, so
Yeah.
I
It's
win."
too late. I've walked too far.
Eat that Webster.
Yeah.
I'm going, man, if you're gonna insult me, at least get the character right. But
Yeah.
yeah. So I've definitely, I mean, in 2006, but can you imagine 1996?
Yeah.
Like 96, you could bump into Jack effing Kirby.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
like you could talk to Dick Giordano. You could touch any member of the entire DC or Marvel bullpen. You could bug the Image founders, who would be all too eager to talk to you.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
it's just outrageous. And by the way, like talk about opulence, booths, floor space, like it's all so expensive. And then you look at like the booth, architecture that went into it. Like I've seen it circulating a little bit lately. DC Comics booth.
Yeah.
First of all, their classic best logo, the bullet logo, the one from like the 80s or the 70s into the 90s. They like made an archway out of it for their booth. Just this massive plexiglass, plastic, wood construction that just looks exactly like as the logo looks on the comic book page, but just you could touch it and get pictures in front of it, and you see like maybe 2 people milling around by it, and you're like, damn it.
Yeah, different times. You know what that makes me think of? Have you heard? You might have talked about this on the show. Have you heard? I'm going to butcher this, and everybody's going to be mad at me. Wherever Superman's filming, or the new James Gunn Superman's filming.
Oh yes,
they're filming by this iconic train station that apparently was the template for the Hall of Justice from like the 80s cartoon.
Yep.
Does that do something for you? Because that gets me a little excited, if I'm being honest.
I had zero reference for Super Friends.
Yeah.
Like I do not like that show. I make no bones about it. I don't pretend to like that show. Yeah. I never watched it, but it's pretty awesome that they're going. I think it was in Cincinnati or something.
Yeah, I think it was Cincinnati too. I just didn't want to, be yelled at, basically.
No,
I just didn't want to say the wrong place.
I remember it being in Ohio. It's the Art Deco Union Terminal, which inspired the Hall of Justice in the Super Friends cartoon. That's a great idea, and I think like I totally get it. And I don't know, because there is like an earnestness to James Gunn, but there's also that like deep cynicism to James Gunn, so it could go either way. Like it could be that the Hall of Justice is owned by Maxwell Lord, and it's just this big ugly mall that is like corporate and terrible, or it could be a bastion of hope, or it could be both. It could be
both. I feel like, and there's no way to know at this point, but we've talked about this on other shows before, but I do think we're gonna get the loser JLI
big time
there, and then that once we get the real Justice League, we're gonna transition to the satellite base.
I hope so, man, because I do love the satellite base. And it's funny because thanks to that cartoon, which of course has informed everyone's definition of how cool the Justice League can be.
Yes. That's a good one. Sometimes when it's like this, defined it for everybody, you're like, that's a shame. That's one of those, nope, good. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's only a shame because DC has been chasing it forever and not really capturing it. Each time it happens, you're like, oh, that's cool, but it's always related to something else, like the Batman Who Laughs or something, and you're like, no. But because of the space station, I always forget about the moon station, where it's like we have the Hall of Justice, but on the moon. Like there is this between phase where they were on Earth, they went to space, but sometimes they're on the moon and other times they're in a satellite. And I prefer the satellite. I love the orbiting satellite. I think it works better. But again, it could be because it was so functional to the show. The moon base seems a little more kind of Mount Olympus detachment to it. So I'm not a big fan of the moon base, but I do want to see that satellite.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
But,
I'm
yeah.
down. Yeah, I just that to see a live action Hall of Justice, like that'd be cool. That's
It'd be
cool.
cool to see a live action Justice League
Yeah.
in the form that I would have expected them to be. I was surprised by how disappointed I was by an actual on-screen Justice League.
Yeah.
But do you have any recollection or knowledge of the George Reeve Justice League movie, Justice League Mortal, that was going to be made, that got to so close to creation?
A little bit. Yeah, I've seen the costume tests
For like Wonder Woman.
Yeah, well, I think there's one that's a lineup one where it's one of those you just have to remind yourself, like, what was this, 2006? You're like, okay.
It had to have been like, like before 2010, like way before MCU.
And it's one of those like, I was gonna say like George Miller. I don't know, like
George
some
Miller, that's
great. It's not so. And then I was like, wait, am I just thinking about the idea of Happy Feet, which I have not seen? Because it's like I think about every, obviously the original Mad Max movies, but also I love Furiosa. I thought Furiosa was incredible. And then A Thousand Years of Longing is fantastic. That's the one he did in between Fury Road and Furiosa. I think that's also incredible. And it's like, yeah, that movie would have ripped. That movie would have been so cool.
Yes. I mean, like from the, I think it's like 3 pixels of the full Justice League lineup.
Yeah.
But I've seen some like high res close up shots of Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And while I'm like, I don't know if I would have done that in 2005, I would have been like, singing the movie's praises by how accurate it was. And but seeing these, what they look like, Justice League Total Action, like plastic action figures, like they look like a actual drawing or at least plastic cast of the Justice League. And seeing them with George Miller's creative eye, like even a fraction of Furiosa applied to an entire lineup of Justice League would have been insane.
Well, you think about it, another way to phrase that, a fraction of his creativity would have been, it would be the best Justice. It would still be the best Justice League movie.
It would be undoubtedly. Yes, no. This movie would have been basically the X-Men the animated series to its franchise, where it's like there are flaws, there are admitted flaws, there are cut corners, there are seams, but nothing touches it.
Yeah. What's funny about
in a particularly vocal or vociferous portion of the audience, like no one will ever be able to touch Justice League Mortal if it was made.
Yeah, if it was made. That's one of those, and of course these movies are able to live in rarefied air in our brains because they don't exist. Because the other one that I kind of would love to see, even though if it did exist, I'd probably trash on it, is the Death of Superman.
The Tim Burton Kevin Smith movie.
Yeah. It's one of those like I have a copy of that Death of Superman Lives documentary. That was given to me by John Schnepp, R.I.P. And it's, you see the backstory. And again, because just like Mortal, I do wish, I think this is on my brain because they just dropped part 3 of Infinite Crisis, and I don't watch any of the DC animated.
Oh yeah, I've seen enough of it to know I don't want it. Like I saw the first one, and I think I saw part of, or if not all of, part 2.
I'm
part
kind
3
of
I skipped.
Bummed that and there might still be rights issues to like writing credits and stuff like that. It's like, why don't you do an animated Death of Superman or an animated Justice League Mortal? Like what it would have been.
Yeah, they did make a Death of Superman animated direct-to-DVD movie, and it
wasn't a direct. Yeah, I did not love it,
but it was not a direct adaptation.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, these kind of failed, like even the Jack Black Green Lantern. Screw it. Let's see. Let's see what it would have been like.
Did you? I heard Steve Zaragoza did, like, he played Jack Black in a spoken word, like in a public reading of the script. Did you go to that?
Did I? I'm trying to remember. How do I know what I know? Was it because I was at that? Did he do? Because I know parts. I know. Did I look over the script? I know it's bad. I know when I was looking, I'm like, well, this was. Thank God this never happened.
Yeah, that would have hurt.
This would have somehow been the worst Green Lantern movie.
Yeah, then we'd have 2 terrible Green Lantern movies.
Yeah,
it's weird because you know what immediately it makes me think of is like a Jack Black led Green Lantern movie makes me immediately think of that Duck Dodgers episode where Daffy becomes a Green Lantern.
Yep.
Where like Warner Brothers went, oh yeah, just throw a Green Lantern at it. Like where it's like they're so weirdly selective about Green Lantern that I'm like, what the hell? Like, why aren't you like that with Flash or
Yeah.
Superman?
Yeah.
It's just a weird selective thing. It's like if I had 2 nickels for every time that Warner Brothers casually tossed the Green Lantern IP at something, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's still weird that they did it twice.
Yeah. It's a weird IP. Now we're getting that. I don't know that it's going to be a dark and gritty show. I just look at the creative team. It feels like we're going for a dark and gritty one. I'm like,
Damon Lindelof and Tom King.
We'll see.
It's going to be really gritty.
We'll see.
I hope not. I hope that the subject matter is gritty, but the Green Lantern, I don't want him to be hokey and stupid, but I also don't want it to be so totally self-serious. Like, I want it to have the kind of, look, Law and Order was dark and it had really, mature subject matter, but, you love to watch Jerry Orbach and Ice-T and so many different like character actors, Munch and stuff like that, where there was fun and humor and joy, and you could enjoy it.
Here's my one issue, and there's nothing they can do to get around it because I understand the decision making around it.
Yeah,
that I'm gonna have to get over, and it's the fact that they've saddled themselves with, in my opinion, the 2 most boring Green Lanterns. Like Hal and John are the 2 most boring guys, and it's like, I get it because they're John was in the animated series and Hal's been Green Lantern forever and a day. Like, he is the Green Lantern now, so I understand the decision making. I just don't care for either of them. Those aren't my favorite Green Lanterns.
That's fair. Well, there's no shortage of Green Lanterns that you could be a fan of, and I think there is like a method to their madness, because like you're gonna get this show which will not reach as many people as the movies, which is weird and shouldn't be true, but it simply is. And I think that that's their way of handling it, where, okay, great. We did Hal and John. There they are. People can enjoy them. People can like not complain about not getting either of them. Yeah. But this opens up like Jessica Cruz to be the Justice League Green Lantern.
Yeah. If they want, I push back a little bit because I do think, we live in a time now where it's like, there's too many Green Lanterns. There's too many Flashes. There's too many Captain Americas running around. Like, pick one. Pick one.
I agree.
You know what I mean? For me, will always and forever be Kyle Rayner. That's my guy. I also think it's the most interesting, because he's not a military man or a cop or any of that stuff. He's an artist. And it's like, giving an artist the Green Lantern ring. That's creatively interesting. That is a good call.
I agree.
But, like, I would open the Justice League movie with Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern dying, meaning like, he was here, but now he's gone. Now he's off the table. And I'll tell you this, and I'll tell you this as well. Not the biggest fan of John. Watching the Justice League animated series always came across as a big stick in the mud. In a room of the only one of those characters that would tell a joke was the Flash. So in a room of like wet blankets, he was like the wettest of the blankets.
It's true. Even Batman had some levity. John was always like a real sticker. Yeah.
When they flirted, and they flirted heavily with making John Diggle and Arrow John Stewart.
Yes.
It's like, now suddenly, if John Stewart's more like this guy, I like this guy. And so now there's something here. Now I get it. Now, like, I'm on board.
Yeah, John's always been like a tough nut to crack. You see him. I mean, even the Justice League animated series dedicated episodes to John.
Yeah.
John is used so that other characters can seem more interesting. Like, they use it to set other characters against him, like his neighborhood and all of his friends and family, and then Shayera or the other Green Lantern Corps or the Justice League. Like, there's a whole episode of Justice League where he's like, none of you, everyone, I'm the only ex-military here.
Yeah.
None of you have any training. We need to train so we can be a better unit.
Yeah.
And they're like, that is not how we operate, and forcing us to do that will only make it worse. And lo and behold, it did. And that's hard to make sympathetic and fun. I do really like the angry black man John Stewart that they introduced, like the first John Stewart, who was like, "Oh, I got the I'm in. Yeah. I got some problems to solve." And that I kind of love that Green Lantern.
Yeah. I also think a cool angle with the character that they could do is, which I think maybe is what I'm thinking about when I think about the Diggle aspect of it, is, and they did it with Sam Wilson's Falcon in the Captain America movies. They made him the Zeddemore. Zeddemore is maybe my favorite Ghostbuster. And the reason is because he has no business. It's just a job. He just applied for a job, and now they're having him bust ghosts, and it's this great, like, I just love that guy, like, I shouldn't be here, and so like they did it with Sam Wilson. They've lost it at this point because now he's Captain America, but I remember in Winter Soldier where it's just like, I'm just a guy. I had served, and now I'm out, and now suddenly I'm hanging out with Captain America. And so whenever the crazy shit would go down with the Avengers, he'd be like, it's kind of like, I shouldn't be here, but I guess
do you need a guy with a jetpack? I don't know, like.
And so if you did that with John, like, I was just the guy. I didn't get struck by lightning. I didn't train my entire life to be an instrument of justice. I'm not a Kryptonian. I'm just a guy that got a ring, and now I'm hanging out with these gods. That would be interesting. That's a guy that interests me.
Yes, if John was the gateway character, like the ride along character for the Justice League, where it's like, hey,
and the one to be like, guys, time out,
we're human
perspective on this one. Let me tell you how this sounds to like just the guy that pays rent. All right.
Basically they gave that job to Green Lantern in the cartoon, or Green Arrow in the cartoon, where it was like, and then never did anything with it.
I like, dude, and two of my favorite in Justice League Unlimited, two of my favorite characters in that were Green Arrow and the Question, because they were the two guys to be like, you dudes. I need to give you some context for how the rest of the world lives.
what a great exposure for the Question.
Yes,
was that show a great way to be like, this is who that character is, and don't you kind of love him? And then of course, like, shoehorning a love story with him and Huntress, I'm like, I'm here for it.
Why not?
Good for Vic. I'll take it.
Good.
I like both of them.
Exactly. Good for him, dude. I think the episode might even be called Double Date, which is Green Arrow and Black Canary and Huntress and Question. That's one of my favorite episodes. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So great. And that also allows you to, I mean, like, it makes me crazy when I see some studio have like with endless IP, or with like a fantastically shared universe and a license to be creative, and then just make the same thing over and over again. Like I see, Marvel, obviously people call it a house style. This is like what Marvel does. Marvel movies all look the same. They all have to fit in the same thing. And I'm like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Part of the excitement that anyone had with, like, when they launched the Daredevil show, the first one, was, hey, this is still in the same universe, and it's just gonna be darker. And but even that, like, had a house style, like Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Man, they all looked like the Daredevil show.
They had their own house style. You're 100% right. I don't know about you, it drove me nuts when those shows were out, that everybody was like, well, it can't be in the same universe as the Avengers. It's darker. And it's like, hey, do you live in the same world I live in? There are people that actually believe they're practicing exorcists in parts of the world, and then there's brain surgeons. People have different walks of life. They have different, they view the world differently, and what we're doing with this style is representing this character's perspective on reality, or how reality impacts them. That's going to be different for Matt Murdock than it is Tony Stark. They exist in different worlds.
And that's why it's fun. It was fun, and it's why, like, because Captain America, it's like, well, give the guy who made the Rocketeer the Captain America movie. It's going to feel like a slice of Americana. A Captain America movie shouldn't necessarily look or feel like a Thor movie. A Thor movie will be more grandiose, a little more operatic. It's why you gave it to Ken Branagh.
Yeah,
like, the guy who makes Henry V is going to make a fun Thor movie. It was kind of stupid. The Dutch angles weren't very good, but, like, whatever. There was something there. At least there was an approach. They're trying something, but then the fun of seeing, like, an Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor movie is like, man, when they all get in the same room, I don't know what the hell's going to happen, but I know I'm here for it. Same deal with the Question, where it's like, dude, you're making a DC universe. You give some, like, dark indie director a Question movie and be like, yeah, it's part of the same universe, but it's going to look and feel different, and it's okay.
Safdie Brothers, a Question movie.
Yes,
and like, it's like, and it's and and like somewhere in that universe, because I just love the idea. That's the other thing too, and I don't know. I think about this a lot, and I don't know if there's a way to do it, because anytime a character gets popular, of course they're going to end up on the Avengers or the Justice League or whatever.
Of course, yep.
But if like, if that world was real, there's going to be some losers that just don't, like in the reality that we live in, watching these movies, there is a chance, less now, but there is a chance that Matt Murdock could meet Tony Stark if Matt Murdock is popular enough.
Yes.
In the real world, Matt Murdock would never, those Venn diagrams would never cross.
No, it's a city of 8 million people. Like, just statistically speaking, they're not going to bump into each other. But also, they're in completely different socioeconomic brackets. Even if, by some miracle, you actually did do an awesome Black Widow Daredevil crossover movie, which I was, like, really, really hoping one day would happen, and now we're never going to get it.
Never. I I am kind of hoping now that Florence Pugh's
Yes,
Black Widow is in with it has is in Thunderbolts with Winter Soldier. It's like, could we do the Black Widow Winter Soldier relationship with those two? Could
I'd
we
be
get
okay with
Yelena
that.
over? She was in the Hawkeye show. She could hang out with Matt Murdock. I'd be down for that.
I mean, I'm also like, look, this is the Marvel universe. Don't be afraid. Like, yo, when Steve gives the stone back, they're like, hey, I gotta get a refund on my death.
Yeah.
Black Widow's back, and she's you know, I mean, look, Scarlett Johansson is a fantastic actor. She's really fun, and she's like, she has her own production company. Like, just if she wanted to, she could be like, yeah, Black Widow movies are only going to cost like $30 million, and they're going to be freaking dark and weird, and they're going to be R-rated. Like, you know what I mean? From now on, and the only people I want to cross over with are street level characters. You know, or I'll be in one Avengers movie, but not two Avengers movie every 5 years. And it's like, you could bring her back and then do it. But even if they had the opportunity to have Matt and Nat hang out, Tony would never sit still long enough to let Nat introduce him to Matt Murdock.
Yeah.
So even then they would never cross over.
And I love that, like the idea of like, of course, Peter would have this friend named Matt Murdock that Tony would never know. You know what I mean? Like,
you have
friends that I would never know, you know?
Right. Like, Parker would never be like, yo, you should meet my lawyer.
Yeah.
There's another superhero that's like me, but a couple years, 10 years older than me. And also is like, has no powers. And when we team up sometimes, Tony's like, wow, that sounds effing weird, and I want no part of it.
That sounds like a bummer. That guy sounds like a bummer. I don't want to be a part of
nuts. It. That guy sounds crazy. Yeah. What are his powers? Nothing? That sounds nuts.
His powers are overcoming his blindness. That's his power.
Yeah, is getting over a disability and also guilt. Pass.
Yes. Oh, yeah. He's got super guilt.
Yeah, my superpower for my guilt is alcoholism.
Yeah. So two things there. One is there was a time where Marvel would do these little shorts that would go with their movies. So there was one that set up the fact, because they kind of knew they whiffed it with the 10 Rings and Iron Man 3. So there was the one that set up that like Trevor Slattery wasn't. No, that's the actor who plays the dad. Who was the character's name?
Trevor Slattery is the name of the Mandarin character. It's Ben Kingsley who plays Trevor Slattery. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then
I think it's called like Hail to the King or something.
Hail to the King or whatever. And they did a couple. One of them ended up being kind of like a backdoor pilot for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. One of them, I think, helped set up Agent Carter. And so for a while with the Netflix shows, I'm like, you need to bring this back. I want one with Daredevil and Black Widow. I want one with Luke Cage and Black Panther. I want one with like and this is. I don't believe you're ever going to put the Netflix characters in the movies. I don't see that happening, but at least do these little shorts that you do.
Yeah, like introduce Jessica Jones to Thor. Like I don't care who it is, but I'd watch it.
Or Captain Marvel to like, for their friendship
because they were friends in Alias. Yeah. No, that'd be friggin' amazing. And it would also allow you to save some money because the scenes aren't going to be of them kicking the crap out of Batroc the Leaper. They're going to be talking to each other. It's just, and then it gives Marvel a chance to play their inner indie filmmaker and be like an ape off of, I'm going to make a little Quentin Tarantino movie. It's going to be a scene. I'm going to make a Kevin Smith movie. It's just scenes with fun dialogue where A-list actors or characters, because of course, I think Tarantino himself has said like, there are no movie stars anymore. It's movie IPs. Like people don't go to see a movie with Chris Hemsworth in it. They will see a Thor movie. And I'm like, arguably neither, but
yeah, and it's one of those, and something I've wanted Star Wars to do for a while, because I think they have this series called Visions, where each episode is done by a different anime studio.
It's gorgeous. It's amazing.
It's gorgeous, and it's also some of the most exciting. I've just figured out that like whatever the Star Wars fans hate, I love, because it's anytime somebody is like, what if we shake it up a little bit? And it's like, do that. And I'd love to see them do like a live action, like just give Jim Jarmusch a half-hour Star Wars short. Let's see what happens. Let's just see what happens, man. You can't, because I think if you're in charge of Star Wars, you got to understand whatever you will do will make this amount of money. And all the fans will hate it. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. They're going to hate it. So
you also just described Marvel's publishing initiative for Spider-Man.
Yeah, and just
it's going to make this much money, and no one will.
Nobody's going to like it. It doesn't matter what we do. It doesn't matter how good it is, dude. So I'm one of the few people out here that actually genuinely really like The Acolyte. And everybody likes to trot out, but The Acolyte's the least watched Star Wars show. And then I found out, what was the least watched Star Wars show before that? Andor. So like you dudes don't know, you guys don't know what you're doing. So you know what I mean?
It's true. Yeah, I love Andor so much. Andor might be like, because and it's funny because whenever they do something at this point with Star Wars, I will just accept competence.
Yeah.
I'll just take, like, when Mandalorian season 1 came out,
Yeah.
first episode, I'm like, oh
yeah,
finally, I'm in. You nailed it. But then I saw Andor and I'm like, oh my god.
yeah. What if? And that's the thing, man. Like if you actually let somebody, and that's kind of what we're talking about, the different perspectives. So it's like, okay, and that's something I hope Star Wars does more of. One of the reasons I like The Acolyte, it's like we talk a lot. We've spilled a lot of ink over light side, dark side. Da, da, da. What if we really drilled into what is that dynamic? How would different people engage with that? Setting that aside, Andor, same thing. The Empire is at least superficially coded as fascist. What if we really drill into, if you're not a space wizard with a laser sword, what's that
life like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, like suddenly, like when you watch the prequels, you're like, how is it that nobody knows about the Jedi in New Hope? And then you watch Andor, it's like if you told any character in this show that there's space wizards running around, they would laugh at you. Cause like,
yeah,
look at the world I live in. You're like, you're right, man. You're so far removed from that. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. The idea of being told, like, may the force be with you. They'd be like, what are you making fun of me?
Yeah, get out of my life. And if you imagine, granted, we saw the Solo movie, but if you imagine if that was the reality Han Solo lived in, and then suddenly he's zipping around with Obi-Wan, it's like, yeah, that's a paradigm shift for that guy.
Well, especially because with respect to Han meeting, Obi-Wan, he'd be like, so I'm carting around a religious fundamentalist.
Yes.
And this boy that he's taking with him, like, I'm literally like culpable in sex trafficking right now. Like, what am I doing here?
What is going on? You guys want me to buy in? No. I'm not the buy-in guy. I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, I do. There are elements Solo where I was like, oh, I like this.
I don't hate Solo. Solo's
not
fun.
enough. There's just it's weird. And of course, because they made 2 effing different movies and then just like intercut them.
Which is like, basically every 4-quadrant movie now, unfortunately.
Which I'm like, that is the least creative way you can make anything. Like, please don't do that. Please no. When I'll take a deliberate vision over a half-assed 4-vision concept that is Frankenstein together based on the wind temperature that day.
Yeah.
No, thank you. But yeah, no. So it's a weird, wild world of making movies and IP and being in love with any one thing. But speaking of IPs, you've created one yourself, my friend. You're at a point where you have a completed. You have not a franchise necessarily, but you have a completed thing.
A saga. We like to use the term saga. We have a complete Hellbent saga. So over the years, Sal has graciously let me on this show to talk about Hellbent, 3 volumes previously. Now we're doing the collected edition that includes all 3 volumes plus some brand new stories, a new epilogue chapter. We're working on our first stretch goal. It's funded, so if you go to back it, you're definitely going to get it. And we're working on our first stretch goal, which is a short illustrated by Rye Hickman, who's an incredible artist that I've admired for a long time. And I'm so grateful that they agreed to work on this project. I've hit them up to work with on projects in the past, and they're busy like doing DC books, like actual work. And I was like, hey, I got this little short. Do you think? And they're like, yeah, I'm in. And I was like, oh my God.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's really cool. It's over 170 pages. It's got a cover gallery. It's got concept art. It's got the whole thing. So we wanted to make something that if you have never checked out Hellbent before, obviously you get the whole thing and a nice deluxe soft cover, beautiful book. But if you've been with us the whole time, we wanted to give you a little extra something too. So there's the epilogue chapter that introduces some new antagonists, some new layers for mythology. For those that don't know, haven't seen my previous stop bys here, Hellbent is a supernatural thriller. Think Preacher, think Sandman, think Something is Killing the Children, where Jezzy, who is an antichrist, is destined to be an antichrist and does not want any part of it. So she goes on the run with an occult assassin that kind of becomes her protector named Nick. And it's about their journey to prevent the apocalypse and learn and grow and all that fun stuff. And it's got all the foul language and gratuitous sex and graphic violence and all that stuff that you would expect from like a mature supernatural thriller. But so that 3 volumes really unpacks Jesse's relationship with her father, who was the devil. The epilogue answers the question, what about her mom? What about we never had a chance to talk about her mom. The epilogue deals with that, introduces some new antagonists, catches you up on where our characters are at. The new short story that we're going to be working towards, we're so close. We're only like 8 backers away from reaching our goal. So come on.
Oh, wow.
Throw me a bone, man. Come on. That's all we need. Give me to that stretch goal, baby. With the Ry Hickman short tells the story of Nick's sword, which is like a flaming angelic sword. And it tells the story of how he came into possession of this sword, which you're looking at now. If you're watching the video of this, there's tarot cards that we've been doing a part of the campaign. There's a brand new one we've done for this one, but you can also get all the previous tarot cards as add-ons.
Nice.
What's some other stuff? If you want to check out, if you've never checked out my previous comic, Chaos Theory, Zombies versus Dinosaurs, there's a tier where you can get both collected editions. I think. Sal, can you scroll up a little bit? Let me remind myself how many pages. I think it's like 280 pages if you get both Hellbent and Chaos Theory together, so you can get the full all of my stuff. Yeah, so it's a bunch of. I think it's a really great story. I'm really proud of what we worked on. So many incredible artists. Heather Vaughn and Kim White are our main artists, but we had a bunch of cool guest artists stop by. Again, if you miss, I think this is a good book for like fans of old school Vertigo, some of the newer Image stuff, those type of stories, stuff where it's like you're trying to grapple with, the stuff of your time, but you're doing it in kind of an irreverent, kind of dark story, those trappings. So I think it'll be for any fans of that stuff a little bit outside of the box, something that colors a little outside the lines. I think you'll be a big fan of Hellbent. That's hellbentcomicbook.com. That's where you can find it. You go to Kickstarter, look up Hellbent, we'll be right there. But those hellbentcomicbook.com is the way to easiest way, I think, to find it. Make sure to put the book on there. Hellbentcomic.com. That's not going to get you there. Hellbentcomicbook.com.
That's why the link will be as a pinned comment below this video. If you want to just check it out, just click that, and you'll be taken right to the campaign. You can see all the stuff that DJ outlined, which is definitely worth checking out.
But you can see the 3 volumes here, and then these covers will be in the cover gallery. So you'll basically get everything we worked on and produced over this multi-year journey. Will be there. I'm right now. I'm working on some extra compendium material that kind of fleshes out some of the mythology and stuff. And it's cool. It's really cool to see all your work put together.
Yeah.
And it's cool that, I'm going to be collecting Chaos Theory as part of it too, because I'm excited to have those books on my shelves and like hopefully add to it. I'm working on some new projects that I hope get to go up there as well.
Absolutely. Isn't it fun? It's funny what a short ride it is from a love of movies to a love of comic books, and the night and day production involvement that is between a comic book and a movie. Because obviously, I mean, like you ask any filmmaker to go behind the scenes and talk about making a movie, at some point they're going to talk about the storyboard process, and they're going to liken it to a comic book, because they're like, oh, well, it basically outlines exactly what we're doing, only it's going to be 1,000 pages and it's going to be very crudely drawn. But they're both collaborative processes that can't happen without like a list of people who are experts in their field, presumably and hopefully, if you want to make something that's going to be, impactful and long lasting, and at the very least worth purchasing, and being commercial as an expression of art. But yeah, it's funny how like we find ourselves in that world, like from one or the other, and what an easy transition it should be.
It's such a cool visual medium. And I don't know about you, Sal, when you work on stuff, but normally when I'm writing stuff, it kind of lets me know, because it's a different language, right? There's a different to it. There's a different, like I always keep track of, like I have a graph over there of where page turns land. So you can like paste your reveals to where there's a page turn. And as I put the collected edition together, I got to make sure all the page turns land in the right spots, or, it reads the way I want, the flow. It's all about, in a lot of ways, a lot of it is the flow of momentum in both mediums. But you're absolutely right. One of the cool things, though, with working with in comics is it's cool to see, and it's been cool in this book to work with multiple. Like I said, we have Heather Vaughn's our main artist. Cam did a couple chapters for us. Cam's doing the epilogue as well, but we had a few guest artists, and it's always cool to see different artists interpret. It's like the closest
your vision, your concept.
It's the closest I'm going to get to like a Spider-Man or a Batman, where you see like a billion different people have that take on that. It's like these, we've had some incredible guest artists like Nicole Go and Danny and Maria Wolf, Naomi Frank, just so many incredible artists, and it's so cool to see each one interpret those characters in their style and convey, and being able to like communicate with an artist and say like, here's what I'm thinking, and then add their stuff to it. And there's very few things more gratifying than working with an artist that just gets it.
Oh yes,
you're gelling, you're on the same page, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, we're cooking with gas here, this is what's up. That's really cool. And so it's been a fun creative process. And the cool thing too is, so we did a volume a year basically. So as you read the book, you'll see kind of it, you'll be able to see how it evolved and how it evolved. But we started with the full outline. Like when I first pitched it, my co-author, I wrote it with Jane in July, who has been a friend of mine since high school. And when I pitched it to her, I had like a rough outline for, it's 3 volumes, 2 chapters per volume, so 6 chapters total of that. And we mostly stayed true to that. We mostly stayed true to the 6-chapter arc that we planned out at the beginning. So it's been a cool journey.
That's amazing, man. I love it. I always like watching anyone's like personal projects, like this really important story that's like in their heart finally reach that destination. It's so rare that people actually manage to accomplish that. So you should be very proud of yourself and what you've done, and amassing a creative team like this and getting them all together, because like a movie or like any production made with an ensemble, sometimes that configuration will never be together in one place again. So this is going to be a unique creation that exists only as it is and will never, be equaled.
And I should know also, obviously it's the collecting 3 volumes, it is either done or mostly done with some of the new material. I've never missed shipping out rewards when something's funded. And so you can expect that book, and we are funded, so you can expect that book before the end of the year. So because I know sometimes with the Kickstarter stuff, sometimes it can be dicey, but this is like my 6th, 7th, 8th rodeo. I don't know. I've done a few of these, and so you can count on getting your reward, getting in a timely fashion. The only up in the air part is they're always like messing around with shipping costs and stuff like that. So navigating, and especially internationally, Brexit, all that stuff. It's like, all right, well, gotta jump through those hoops, but you will get it. As far as it's in my power, you will get it.
Hellbent, you will get it.
You will get it.
You'll get it all right. But listen, DJ, thank you so much for being here. Folks, thanks for watching. Of course, if you want a copy, or at least you want to investigate it, click the link that's pinned above this the comment section here. And of course, if you want more of this dichotomy, this experience of me and DJ, you throw a rock, you'll find a show that we're on right now. I mean, honestly. Also,
last thing I'll throw out there.
Please,
ComicPop listeners, for my patrons, there's going to be a special sticker that has Sal and I as superheroes. I believe it's him as Wolverine, me as Spider-Man.
That's right.
I want to throw you all ComicPop listeners a bone as well, that you can get this since you are Sal fans. You can get that sticker as well if you back the campaign.
Nice.
We fulfill our rewards through Backer Kit, so there'll be a part on that quiz where you'll be like, I'm a ComicPop listener, and I will throw one of those stickers into your reward tier as an extra bonus out of appreciation for not only supporting this campaign, but supporting all the support you guys give Sal.
Thank you so much, man, and thank you, folks, for for making this happen. I'm excited. I love that image, by the way. It's so fun. It's
dope. It's really cool.
It's really great. Folks, check out more. But of course, watch Mutant Academy, check out Spider-Versity, and stay tuned for more, because this gravy train ain't coming to the station anytime soon, folks. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But thanks a lot for watching. Thank you, DJ, for being here, and we'll see you guys next time with another episode. When we do a recap, I'm going to talk about I'm already getting tired from my San Diego trip. I'm like, I'll be back when we get back. I'll be back from San Diego, and we'll see what the hell happened there.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Oof. All right.